Welcome back to the Sifra channel. My name is Amjad and today we'll be making Yemeni Mafhoosa. Now what's unique about this dish is that you actually need to make your bread from scratch and then cut it up and reheat it with ghee and honey. It is a little bit time consuming, but trust me, it's absolutely worth it. Some people make it with leftover bread, but I find that making your own bread from scratch makes a world of a difference. It also reheats really nicely. So I'll show you how you can freeze it and then reheat it whenever you want to enjoy. So keep watching. And make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss any other videos. So in our stand mixer, we're going to start with all of the dry ingredients. First, we're using 5 cups of all-purpose white flour and 2 cups of wheat flour, half a tablespoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, and 2 tablespoons of yeast. And lastly, we're adding a tablespoon of black nigella seeds, just like that. Don't worry, all the measurements will be down below. And by the way, next, we're going to start adding our liquids gradually. So first, we're going to drizzle in 1.5 cups of extra virgin olive oil. I know it looks like a lot, but this is where you're getting a ton of flavor from. Next, we're adding 1/4 cup of melted ghee. You want to make sure that you melt this. Put it on the stove for a few minutes or microwave it. You don't want to put room temperature or cold ghee in this. Next, we're adding 3 cups of warm water. You want to make sure it's warm or slightly hot just so it helps activate the yeast quickly. If you use cold water, it'll probably take double the amount of time for your dough to rise later on. So as you can see, we're doing this gradually while we continue to mix on low to medium heat. Not heat, what am I saying? Speed. So I want you to notice here how loose of a dough it is. So some of it is still sticking to the edges and it's not coming together. That's exactly what you want. Gravity will pull it down slightly, but when we're ready to remove the paddle, you'll need to use your spatula to get that all off. Now, just like with all doughs, we want to cover this up, set it aside in a warm area so that it can work its magic with the yeast and fluff up, almost double in size. So it's been about 45 minutes and I feel like the dough has grown plenty enough, and I want to make sure that you all know to use a non-stick pan. This is really important. And so with a wet hand, so literally dip it in a bowl of water, grab a piece of your dough and start doing exactly like you see here. And I'll keep this at normal pace just so you can see it does take a little bit of time. And if you're a little bit nervous because the pan is hot, that is totally normal. When I was younger, only my mom would do this step and I would just watch. And now you can still kind of see I'm a little bit timid because I'm afraid to burn myself and I have nails and yeah, so if you don't have nails, it's probably a lot easier, and try to use as much of your palm as possible. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, just do what I'm doing, using the side of your knuckles. So we're basically trying to get it as flat as possible, and there's my mom telling me, oh, you missed that area. Anyways, yeah, yes, I can see it. So every time you feel like your hand is sticking too much, just dip it in water again and flatten it out. So I think I did pretty well here. It doesn't need to be perfect, but what you do need to do is start adding a little bit of ghee around the edges, and again, melted ghee. And I just keep that small pot over the stove nearby so I can scoop it up every so often. Now you want to continue cooking it on medium heat until you see that it's starting to move smoothly, and that's when you know that you can flip it over. Now it should look golden just like this. If it doesn't, it's okay. Just wait until the bottom side browns up and then you can flip it over again. And each time you flip, you want to add additional ghee to the sides. Now you're going to repeat this process over and over again, but I want to show you that sometimes it doesn't go perfectly. So in this instance, I flipped it and broke it apart. Okay, no big deal. Just try your best to flip over the raw sides, and you're just going to have to make sure that all the surfaces get browned. So don't freak out. Really not a big deal. So while you're going through all of that cooking process, on the side here I've got a big pot and I'm constantly transferring the dough, and I've kind of broken it up with my spatula. And so there's two ways to do this. You either go old school and you use a wooden spoon and kind of hack at it until it breaks up into little pieces. Or you can do it the modern way, which my mom taught me, and just use a food processor. Now you want to make sure that you just don't turn it on and then leave it there, because then you'll just get mushy bread. So what you want to do is pulse it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and there you go. You'll see they turn into beautiful fluffy crumbs. And yes, I'm doing this while it's still hot. So you're just gonna get the most perfect, consistent texture, and it's gonna be so fluffy in your mouth. It's perfection. Now the way we prepare to serve it is in a traditional Yemeni magla. If you don't have one, you can use a Korean bibimbap pot. I hope I said it right. Or just heat up whatever serving dish that you want to use, maybe something that's oven safe, and add your breadcrumbs right inside. If you want this to be more rich, you can add a tablespoon or so of ghee, but we're gonna try and pretend to be a little bit healthier today. And then we will drizzle in honey while this is all still warm. By adding honey at this stage, you're allowing it to melt in and give the bread some time to absorb it, which is really important, and I think this step really takes it up a notch. You still want to serve it with extra honey, because who doesn't love extra honey? But that's just a little tip that I recommend you try. And if you're thinking, well, how much honey do I add? I mean, that's completely up to you. My family adds a ton of honey. You can see here I'm adding more because I realized the initial portion was not enough. So I would estimate between 2 to 3 cups, maybe more. It all depends on how much of the bread will be soaking it up. So kind of use your judgment, give it a taste, and if you feel like it needs more sweetness, add more honey. Okay, so this is really important. With all of the portion that you did not add honey to, add it to Ziplocs and stick it in the freezer. You can then reheat and enjoy it whenever you feel like it. We keep it 2 to 3 months at a time. Another way to enjoy this dish is with freshly sliced bananas. This is how I grew up enjoying it. I think it's the most amazing and satisfying way to eat it, and we have it for breakfast, during Ramadan, for our pre-fasting meal, and it's also an amazing dessert which we enjoy for different family gatherings. So I hope you like this recipe. Please don't forget to comment below and tag me on Instagram if you ever recreate it, and thank you for watching.